Okay, today on this next episode of Back of My Truck Bushcraft, I can use this log here to attempt to make a pig for the first time. Now, a pig is something used in carving to hold the piece that you're working with steady while you use things like gouges and mallets to help carve out a bowl or a kuksa or a noggin or something like that, and something that I could use around here for little projects that I make for myself. So let's get started. All right, we're going to saw into this log with a less than bushcrafty saw. So I'm going to put the cut end down, keep my hand straight as I move my hand up the side of the log. Get a rough idea where I want to be there. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight, otherwise this wouldn't be bushcraft, would it? I just did this to try and keep the log from moving a little bit for me. The idea here would be to keep these two sides vertical as close to 90 degrees as you can. We're almost there. Now we just take our axe, put it right on our line. Running off a little bit, so I'm gonna pop the axe out and move down to this side. Make sure we're still working vertical. Okay, went and made a quick wedge. There's some spare tulip poplar that I had. Made quick work of it. We just need something to spread it out. Look, so it's pretty good, pretty flat and level. No, it's not. Now it looks pretty good. Hopefully you can see that. Hopefully most of this has been on camera. So that is the first part of our pig build. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to make some legs so it'll stand up. We gotta cut those and carve those, and still a lot to be done. Okay, for the legs I have this nice straight tulip poplar log branch. No, it's actually probably just a sapling, but I didn't cut it down. It was just leftovers. So I'm just gonna make my first one. I'm gonna use some kind of short legs because Well, because I'm making this for something that I can use kind of sitting down, so I can still have that over the head or over top point of strength. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mark this based on the length of the other one. We're gonna keep using the first one for our marking. First thing I'm doing with this one, it's got kind of a curve. It's trying to just straighten it out just a little bit so that when I go to mark it for the auger, I will, I'm gonna awl out a hole for a leg like that. I can mark it in the center-ish and it'll be a little bit straighter that way. Real quick shout out to Jim Schenkel, who designed this leather tool rule for me. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty expandable, and I can pretty easily just stuff a whole bunch of stuff, including some spoons in there. I got this from Self-Reliance Outfitters a while back. It's an auger bit set, and it comes with this little gauge so you can mark the diameter of your dowels. Carving with an axe is a skill that I recommend honing. I do it partially for the practice, but it also makes very quick work of removing material. I'm going to leave it a little bit tapered because this is green wood and it is going to shrink. Oh, did that focus? Oh yeah, focused. Nice. These are just gonna go in the bottom at these points where I left it thicker so that I can kind of pound them in. I'm gonna carve 4 more. And this gauge just works like that. Kind of find the center of your log, and I did click it that time, but it wasn't clicked far enough out for the depth of the gauge. Mark that. Now you've got a nice, that's pretty close to center. Thought up close carving might be a little bit helpful for some people if you wanted to see it. If you don't want to see it, be pretty easy to fast forward. So that's a method I use to take off a lot of material at once. You can see how quickly that's reducing the material. I just kind of place my blade in at an angle, get it started, and then I use the weight of the axe to pound through just by moving the whole piece up and down and banging it into the stump. You can use your own personal force just by pushing the blade through. You can see we're just kind of working around. Need to work on this side a little bit more, then bring that around. Oh, maybe you couldn't see that. Need to work on this side here a little bit more. Watch how quickly it changes the game with an axe. So we got a high spot right there. Anytime it gets stuck, I'll just pound it through. Nice high spot there to carve down. Getting a little close there. The other thing you can do, which might be counterintuitive with an axe, is kind of pound it in and then run it along the grain once it's at the desired depth, and you can get kind of a curve in it instead of just a straight cut like you might think would be what you get with an axe. It will cut the grain, not just split the grain. Got a little bit of a old branch stub there. Getting there. You can see how I moved it over just a little bit. I'm trying to keep the same size, but I want to be a little bit more justified towards that side. But I think that's about as small as I want to go on that. We'll get another one. Okay, now we've got some legs. We're gonna lay out the pig and see where our holes end up being. Probably kind of mark the center. I'm just gonna eyeball that like that. Know that they've got to be somewhere in between here. So it's gonna want to be in the center of that. I'm just gonna make one there, and then we'll make a mark from the center of our little dot there to this, and we can move that over here and make the center of our dot here. And that should be pretty close to equidistant. I'm gonna make a line so I know to mark that one just right. And then we can do the same thing down here. We can use the bark side of this to measure is how far away from our edge we go. So then we can go here, and we can know that we need to be here-ish. I don't make perfect things. And then here. So now we've got our holes marked out. All right, well, I drilled that whole hole, that entire hole, not filming, and I was really just trying to film that one. And then I was gonna do the other ones, but we will do this one. So I'm just kind of, like I said, kind of trying to match the perpendicular of the log a little bit. Don't want to be too far out, but I want it to be far enough out that it's stable. Once I get that screw tip in there, through the bark and into the actual wood, it just starts pulling the auger bit in, and really all you're doing is just hand over hand twisting it. And you can see it's just pulling that wood up, breaking it off, drawing it out of there, keeping the hole clear. There's my Vivo Barefoot Tracker ATs there, holding this in place. They're doing a great job holding it in place. They're really good shoes. I like them a lot. I'm just backing it out, and then we will have a hole. We now have a hole, and do that 2 more times. All right, as you can see, the hole's kind of got some bark around the edges, so I'm just gonna clean that out a little bit, just with the tip of my knife. Rake that around there. Kind of push cuts. There we go. Nice clean hole. Quick and easy by my Mora 125. Here's an up close of where we're at so far. I think darkness is only going to allow us to maybe get the legs in tonight, and we'll have to do an episode 2 Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, because I will be pounding on this with a mallet, is I'm going to get a knife. I'm going to chamfer these edges so that I don't split anything off and mushroom it out too bad while I'm pounding that in the hole. So quick work, make nice slicey cuts along the edge. Doesn't have to be pretty, these are going to be in the dirt. But we want to get rid of that bark on the edge and chamfer that edge just a little bit. I think that's actually pretty good. And then we already know that this one's going to need a little bit of work. Because all we've done is carve it with an axe. You can do some fine carving with an axe. I made a spoon with an axe until I did the bowl. When I did the bowl, I used a hook knife. And carve that down into kind of a dowel shape. Like I said, I'm not too worried about it being perfect because I want it to kind of jam in there. You can see I'm using a thumb lever grip on my knife, where it's like using my knife like a scissors. We're pretty close. I'm gonna go ahead and chamfer this edge too. Something smaller, I just do little push cuts in. Chamfer this edge so it helps it get started. But I don't want to take off much of the width because that's what's going to give me stability. Okay, it's kind of started in there. I'm going to use my mallet here to knock that in. It's feeling very solid there. Can pick it up. All right, here's a little bit of an up-close view of it. Got my legs installed there. I don't know what this part is called, but we'll call it a shelf, and that shelf is nice and stable. Like I said, it's on gravel right now, so the legs are stable though, and that's the important thing. I can always fine-tune them height-wise. Yeah, there's my pig. All right, well, let's sit on it for the first time, see if it holds me. Oh man, might have to make one of these as a chair. Pretty solid. It's never gonna have this much weight on it, but it will have some pounding force on it. Pretty stable. I'm on gravel, so might not be perfect. We're gonna do another episode for augering out the holes and making the dogs and wedges that we'll need for using this as a vise.